you guys, and welcome back. So today's video is going to be a little different. I am going to be re-uploading a video that I did back in September 19th, 2017. It was shortly after the first eclipse. I actually did a series of videos providing information about those two eclipses. Back then, I only knew about the one in 2017 and the one that was coming in 2024. I didn't yet know about the one that we had in 2023. And so this was, I think, like maybe the third or fourth video that I did concerning this. And I wanted to do this because I noticed that there are a lot of people putting out a lot of deception and or flat out lies concerning the two eclipses that make the X over Little Egypt. And I just want to first upload the video and let you listen to it and see if you can tell or hear the deception that has been being put out here lately. And then I'll come back and do a part 2 where I'll give more commentary concerning this. Okay, so here's the video. Hey you guys, and welcome back. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I wanted to ask y'all, did y'all see when you were watching the news reports of the eclipse that we just had on the 21st? Did you see that people had been planning, once they found out that this eclipse was coming, that they had been planning to have their weddings on this day, that people were getting married as the eclipse was taking place? Doesn't that kind of put you in the mind of the scripture that talks about how it's going to be just as it was in the days of Noah and people were marrying and giving in marriage? I just realized that. I just thought about that, you know, there were people, I saw reports of people who were actually getting married as the eclipse was taking place, as the warning was taking place. And it kind of puts me in the mind of, I was on this video talking about Hurricane Harvey. And this was one of the videos that was taking the position that this was a warning or judgment. And I scrolled down to the comment section, and one of the people there, I think it was a sister, and there was a part in it where people were, you know, kind of, I think a fish or something had gotten into the house because it had flooded. So some kind of way a fish got in there. And so the guy was, you know, jumping around in the water trying to catch the fish. And, you know, people were laughing and playing and things like that. And now I understand that people were probably just trying to lift their spirits. You know, they were trying to take their minds off of what was going on. But one sister left a comment saying, so they're playing in the destruction. And that's the feeling that I'm getting, is that people really aren't taking this seriously. You know, they're just going about their day as if nothing is going on, as if everything is normal. So I just wanted to mention that before I get into what this video is about. Now, you know how in this last video that I did talking about the eclipse, how I mentioned that when the second eclipse happens 7 years later and it forms an X over the United States, and that there's a city in Illinois called Makanda, Illinois, that is going to be actually the center point of the two paths of these eclipses, like the center point of the X. And I was telling you how the slogan for that city used to be Star of Egypt. Well, I did some further digging and ran across some further information. And I believe that this city is called the Star of Egypt because it's in a region in Illinois. The southern region of the whole entire state used to be known as Little Egypt or Egypt. And many of the cities in that region have Egyptian names. There is one that's at the southernmost part of Illinois called Cairo. There's a city called Cairo. And I'm going to read you some information about this particular section of Illinois. It says, the nickname Egypt may have arisen in the 1830s when poor harvests in the north of the state drove people to southern Illinois to buy grain. Others say it was because the land of the great Mississippi and Ohio River valleys were like that of Egypt's Nile Delta. According to Hubs, the nickname may date back to 1818 when a huge tract of land was purchased at the confluence of the rivers and its developers named it Cairo. Today, the town of Cairo still stands on the peninsula where the Ohio River joins the Mississippi. Other settlements in the area were also given names with Egyptian, Greek, or Middle Eastern origins. The Southern Illinois University Seleucus sports teams in towns such as Metropolis, Thebes, Dongola, Palestine, Lebanon, New Athens, Sparta, and Carmack show the influence of classical culture. Greek names were also related to the contemporary national pride in the new republic of the early 19th century and were given to towns throughout the Midwest. Egyptian names were concentrated in towns of Little Egypt, but also appeared in towns further south. For instance, about 100 miles south of Cairo along the Mississippi lies Memphis, Tennessee, named after the Egyptian city on the Nile. Although Illinois was a free state prior to the American Civil War, some residents in Little Egypt still owned slaves. Illinois law generally forbade bringing slaves into Illinois, but a special exemption was given to the salt works near Equality. In addition, an exception was made for slaveholders who held long-term indentured servants or descendants of slaves in the area before it achieved statehood. The nicknames for the region also arose from the political tension prior to and during the American Civil War, as regions of the state allied differently with North and South. Because Southern Illinois was settled by Southerners, they maintained a sympathy for many issues of their former states. They supported the continuation of slavery and voted for Democrats at a time when the northern part of the state supported Republicans. The meaning is expressed in this description of the 1858 campaign of Douglas and Abraham Lincoln. In 1858, debating in northern Illinois, Douglas had threatened Lincoln by asserting that he would trot him down to Egypt and there challenge him to repeat his anti-slavery views before a hostile crowd. The audience understood Douglas' overwhelming pro-slavery sentiment, and Democratic unanimity in Egypt had led to the nickname. In the fall of 1861, Democrats took a majority of seats in the state legislature. They worked to pass provisions of a new constitution, and initiative began in 1860. They proposed reapportionment so the southern region's less populous counties would have representation equal to those in the north, which was growing more rapidly. Northern Illinois residents worried about the state coming under the political will of the southern minority. Shall the manufacturing, agricultural, and commercial interests of northern Illinois be put into Egyptian bondage? When Lincoln commissioned the Southern Illinois Democrat John Alexander McClendon as a brigadier general, he told him to keep Egypt right side up. In addition, Southern Illinois had become the center of the Knights of the Golden Circle, a secret group devoted to supporting the Confederacy. With concern rising about armed Southern sympathizers, in August 1862, U.S. Marshal David Phillips arrested several Democrats who allegedly belonged to the Knights, including men in respectable positions, congressmen, state representatives, and judges. One was Circuit Judge Andrew Duff. They were sent to Washington, D.C., where they were held for 68 days before release, but they were never charged. Democrats won across the state in the fall election. And there's a picture showing Cairo, the city of Cairo from 1885, and under it says, "The city sits between two rivers, reminding early settlers of the Egyptian Delta." It goes on to say, after the war, other reasons were proposed for the nickname. Political divisions continued in the state. In the later 19th century, the central and southern agricultural areas joined the populist movement. Chicago and the industrial north aligned with similar areas and continued as predominantly Republican into the 20th century. In 1871, Judge Andrew Duff wrote an article in which he ignored the war years and preceding political divisions. He claimed the name of Egypt related to southern Illinois' role in supplying grain to northern and central Illinois following the winter of the deep snow in 1830 through 1831. Following a long winter and late spring, Upper Illinois lost much of its harvest in an early September frost. Southern Illinois' weather gave it good crops, so it could ship grain and corn north. The nickname supposedly arose from similarities of the events to the well-known Bible story of Jacob's sons going to Egypt for grain to survive a famine. So to sum this whole thing up, this region of Illinois, the southern region, was known as Little Egypt because, one, they were pro-slavery versus northern Illinois, which was not, and two, because they provided grain and corn for the northern half of the states, much in the way that Jacob's sons traveled to Egypt to get provisions during the famine. And for those of you who have an ear to hear, that should have made you feel something right there. Okay? Alright, you guys, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I just wanted to share that with you guys. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I will be so happy to have you. You guys have a great day, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks.